In the following tutorial, we will cover two important tools in the ChromEditor. First is Brushes tool, which allows you to paint textures on your terrain and add vegetation such as stones, trees, grass, etc. Next tool that we are going to cover is the Forrester tool. And the Forrester tool allows you for more precise control of what the brushes do, but it gives you extra depth and extra full control of how you place your trees and your vegetation. Brushes are very simple to use. Just select any of these that you like, go into your map, and just start painting with the left mouse button. And if you want to remove the trees that you just painted, just scroll down, remove trees, and just paint them out. Here on the bottom you're also able to add and paint terrain detail brushes. You can remove, selecting terrain detail brush 1, I'm able to paint, and then if I want to remove it, just paint it out. Same goes for terrain detail brush 2, I can remove that. I can remove the grass if I want, and I can paint tiny objects 1, 2, and 3. And if I need to remove any of this, just head up, click on Remove Tiny Objects, and I'm able to paint them out. Now I want to share an advanced tip with you on how you can edit bitmap terrain by modifying your mask. If you go to your brush menus, and if you choose Terrain Detail Brush 1, double click, under Image, you'll see User Path of the mask. What you want to do is you want to set this to your map directory and to your mask. So your map name underscore mask.dds. Now you want to head up to Terrain, edit bitmap on terrain, and under bitmap file you want to click on Browse, and you want to navigate to your map folder name and choose the same mask and click yes. Now if we go back to the brush menu, you want to notice that you have green channel checked on. You're able to paint on top of your mask and modify the mask, which will enable you to modify that specific mask channel of that detail brush. So if I click on edit, we can see that I mask, and then I'm able to click on the green channel, edit, and I'm able to paint on top of the terrain, on top of my mask. So I'm able to modify the terrain mask. So let's modify our green channel. By clicking on the green or the black, I can paint in or out into the mask. So by painting directly into the mask, I can modify my mask right on top of my terrain. So if I go click on save, you can see that we painted it into our mask. I'm also able to do the same thing for alpha. So click on visible for alpha, and then I can start painting into the alpha channel as well. Click save, so you get to see the result. And you can see which channels have a specific detail applied to it by going up to your map settings, going on the wire list, and scrolling down to terrain, and here you have detail 0, alpha, blue, green, red, corresponding to each individual channel inside your Edit Bitmap on Terrain menu. Now go back to your brushes menu and let's create a new brush. All of these brushes that you have come up in the brushes menu are predetermined and have been set up for you. You can create your own custom brush by going up to brushes, new. Here you can rename your brush, and by double clicking on the custom brush you have a menu pop up. So first you want to go up to function tree and insert at highest level. Here you have a few functionalities to add. Select add single tree. Next you can click on the shape on the black square here and set a brush, one of the brushes that you are able to paint with. So I'm going to choose round, then head down, and where you see the plus sign, this is where you add a mesh, which is a model that you're going to be able to paint onto your terrain with. So I'm going to navigate into nature, trees, and choose one of the trees that's available here. Double click and set it. Next you need to select your add single tree, go back up to function tree and insert a child. And here we need to insert edit grass density map. Click OK. Now if you open this up and navigate to edit grass density map, set both of these M density map modes both to set. Go back up to add single tree, we have a option menu pop up here on the bottom. These are the properties for our new brush. It defines how our painted tree brush will look in our map. So if I go back out and I paint on my terrain, we can see that we can start painting our trees in, but a few problems is they're showing up way too close to each other. So we can set all of this by going back into the custom brush menu and editing some of these values. Ray collision means the bots are able to see through the object to find you. So if you check this to true, they will not be able to see you through an object. If you set this to false, regardless if you're hiding behind something, they'll be able to see you. They'll know where you are. Next is distance, and distance is the distance between the trees that we have set, and these units are set in centimeters. So if I set this to about 800, which is 8 meters, and paint them in, you can see that every time I paint, I get 8 meters between all the trees. Next is scale minimum and maximum. These two values you don't want to be too far apart, so I'm going to set this maybe 0.6 to 1, and it'll allow to set a variety of scale randomly between 0.6 and 1. Next is max slope, and here you can set to at what angle the trees are able to be painted on the terrain. So here I can start painting, and since my angle is at 90, I can paint them in. So let's set our max slope to 20. So let's go back. So now I can't paint my trees on a slope that's greater than 20 degrees. I'm also painting my trees and they're showing up as different sizes. They also have distance between the trees as we set in our properties. Now let's cover the Forrester tool. Forrester tool essentially does very similar things as the brushes inside ChromEditor, but Forrester allows you to have more precise and better control over your objects in your scenery. So by clicking on the edit trees right next to the Forrester, you're able to select each individual tree and modify it. By double clicking, the object properties will come up, and also with the edit tree option you can move the tree, you can scale it, you can rotate it. Here you have your object selection list, and they function just as the brushes did in the brushes menu, but here you can actually see what they look like. And also by double clicking on any of these objects, you have the menu pop up, and here you can change the collision, ray collision, change the mesh. Billboards are small plans. Scrolling down again, we have distance, scale, minimum and maximum. We have maximum slope. We can also create a new tree type, and what that does, it acts very similar to when you create a custom brush. So you can name it, set the mesh, and set all the properties as we did when we created a custom brush. And by scrolling down, we can add trees of the selected type, add a single tree, we can delete trees of a selected type, update trees to the terrain height. So by selecting add trees of the selected type and then selecting the objects you want to place and paint into a scene, I'm able to start painting the trees onto my terrain. And I can also add just a single tree by selecting add single tree, selecting the tree I want to place, and just placing it. And then if I want to remove trees from my terrain, just select delete trees of selected type and selecting the trees you want to remove and just paint it out. I'm also able to add multiple objects to my scene at the same time. So selecting add trees of selected type and selecting a couple objects here, you can see that I'm adding multiple objects. So that's another extremely powerful thing you can do with Forrester. If I'm not happy with the entire scene, again, I can remove them by tree type, or I can just go down here and delete all trees from my terrain, and I'll delete every single tree from my terrain. And I could have also delete tree by selected type by selecting the tree I want to delete and clicking delete tree, and it would have deleted specific selected trees that I had in my objects.